So what is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Brandon Coin YouTube channel. Hope everybody's doing great. If you're new here, this is going to be visiting the CEO and not visiting, but just talking to him on the, not a live stream, but a recorded stream. So this is the CEO of Salad. His name is Bob, Mr. Bob. I just got in my Bob coin, by the way, from Salad. I will show that off at the end. But yeah, how you doing, Bob? Welcome. I'm glad to have you.
I'm great. Thank you, Brandon. Excited to be here and chat Salad, Bob Coin, and Brandon Coin.
Yeah, definitely. I thought that was cool because I made my channel name years ago and never intended it for it to be anything. So when I see somebody else just stick their name in front of coin, I'm like, I can relate. You know, Bob Coin, Brandon Coin, we're all here. B Coin in the house. But we're going to roll through a couple questions that a lot of people have on their minds. And if you do have a question that's not answered in this video, please drop it down below in the comments section, and maybe we can schedule another one of these in the future. But the big one is, and a lot of people have been talking about it, I've been talking about it, coming into the winter time, we do want to run these rigs and make sure they're running more often, especially if somebody's using them to offset some heating costs. And I had talked to you previously about the mining workload. So originally through the summertime, basically the setup guides were, turn off mining, it's not worth it. But now with some of these newer coins out, for example, Aleo, there's probably going to be more. This may not age well with time, so obviously take the date into consideration when we are talking about coins. But you had said that you use an application and a program inside of Salad. So whenever you enable mining, how does that work? I guess I'll just hand it over to you now.
Yes. So mining is actually how we got our start. Rerunning the clock almost 7 years now, and mining is and always will be a really important part of the Salad infrastructure for a few reasons. But I'll leave those on the side. We can come back to them. But to answer your question, how do we handle mining? How is it set up? We've got a few different miners that we've used in the past. Primarily today, it's Nice Hash, if I'm not mistaken, it's their miner that we've been running as an executable. And we've also had a few different pools that we've used in the past. But moving forward, the team's actually only today, worked to port over our mining from an executable that runs within Windows to a containerized miner that will actually run kind of more seamlessly with our existing infrastructure. We haven't yet benchmarked it, so I can't tell you how that's going to compare in terms of its profitability for Salad balance as an executable running natively in Windows versus within what we call SEL, Salad Enterprise Linux. That's our own kind of distro of Linux, which runs all of these containerized workloads. Within Cell, we've got different runtime security and host intrusion detection kind of overhead that might eat away at that hash rate slightly. So we need to benchmark that. But really what we're looking to move towards is essentially when you enable containers or accept containers, you can still opt out of mining. We won't send you a mining container if you've opted out. As you put it, some people might not want to run those miners because you have to kind of counter the heat with air conditioning, which just really adds to the bill. Winter, it might make sense. So that toggle, at least in Salad, will still be effective. But yeah, we're looking to containerize the mining and really, as a business, our focus is more on the traditional cloud market and servicing customers who need GPUs for workloads like AI inference, text to image, or more recently, perhaps more exciting, molecular dynamics simulations, drug discovery. Those sorts of customers, those sorts of workloads are our bread and butter. The mining for us, we're never going to compete with individuals tuning their machines to overclocking and underclocking or overvolting. So we're never going to be the best option as a mining pure play. really we're focused on those different uh, higher paying, higher rewarding jobs that are servicing more traditional cloud customers.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Especially, by the way, I didn't ask where you're at, but here in the U.S., we're entering into our winter. So even on my machines that aren't going to be getting workloads very often, I have some of the less desirable GPUs. I'd still want them mining and creating heat at close to the most optimal level. Obviously, running a miner beside a platform is very difficult. So for you guys to include it all in one is nice. When I was down in Miami, I talked to the NiceHash booth, and they said that their NiceHash Dockerized container file should help out. And they were actually designing it for a lot of people requesting it for Vast. So it's nice that you guys are including it. And I'm hoping, less moving parts, more hash rate, more revenue, because here soon I'm going to be spreading all my machines throughout the house, one in each of the closets, and turn them all the mining workloads on. We'll definitely need to do a winter setup, setup guide for maximum efficiency to offset heating costs and stuff like that, because some of these cards, especially those, the 3090s, 4090s, they put out a good amount of heat. So that can be useful. And yeah, so are you guys going to is it going to be a whole new update? I saw there was 1.6.6 today. Will there be a new update whenever the NiceHash Dockerized container gets implemented?
No update required for chefs. This is all just a business logic change in our back end, essentially how we distribute the miner and which operating system it runs within. Is it containerized, running in SEL, like all of our other container jobs, or is it running natively on Windows? That's the big change there, and no update required for chefs.
Awesome. And unintentionally, I didn't even think about it. That may fix a lot of the issues where people are having their Windows Defender nuking like T-Rex miner and stuff like that, where it's running in an executable. Whereas now, if it's served up in I don't even remember the file extension, but served up in a Docker file, Windows doesn't even see it. So then it should run even better, especially for people getting into, maybe they've never done mining before. So yeah, I think that'll work out well. I guess you had touched on it there briefly, but you said there is a SEL Salad a Linux platform. Is that something that's going to be implemented into like a full Linux build? I know it's exclusively on Windows right now, or running inside WSL in Windows.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, so we've been working on Cell for 2.5, coming up on 3 years now, and essentially the way we take heterogeneous hardware, because every one of our chefs has a different setup, different hardware, different drivers, different operating system. It's the way we kind of standardize the compute environment as best we can, is using WSL2, Windows Subsystem for Linux, and then running our own build, which is what we call SEL, Salad Enterprise Linux, within that VM. And then within that VM, and that comes with all sorts of overhead that we run, and we have our runtime security module and host intrusion detection system, and a few other kind of frameworks that we run. And then within that environment is where we actually power these different customer containers, containerized workloads, which can include any number of jobs from our bread and butter today, which is text to image, stable diffusion. More recently, the community might have seen some really high utilization of the network. There was a large molecular dynamics simulation, a drug discovery simulation running. That customer got about 40% of the way through that simulation, making some tweaks, and so we expect another huge kind of batch job to saturate a lot of the machines on the network soon. And all of those containers run within SEL, within Salad Enterprise Linux. And of course, moving forward, we're going to take those miners, and exactly as you point out, one of the large bits of friction is Windows Defender will flag every one of them as a Trojan, malware, a virus, whatever it might be, whatever it decides it is. when we move that miner over to SEL, we won't have that problem. So there'll be a lot less friction, and it'll be a lot less scary for those who are new to mining, as you say.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody gets scared when they see Windows. Everything's a Trojan or a virus nowadays. But I meant to touch on it. Is there going to be, or is it in the future a dedicated Linux distribution of the SEL, where somebody could just flash it right onto their drive and not even basically cut Windows out of the equation?
Yeah, great question. We are actively asking questions now, doing our due diligence, kind of the proper product management process, understanding the market and the potential there for an entirely new build that would be a Linux image that we ship, rather than the Windows-based system that we have today, which everything we've built is WSL2 as a dependency. We built it for WSL2, so it's not trivial for us to go and build a Linux equivalent to the salad that exists today, mostly because of the security, kind of that runtime security. A lot of it is kind of built specifically for WSL2 in that environment. But we're actually actively doing our homework now and having conversations and trying to understand how big of a market is there on the supply side if we were to provide that salad image which is compatible with Linux, and open up a bunch more supply for us, because it's an interesting dynamic being a marketplace that we are. There are these moments, like 2.5 weeks ago, where we were short some 350 4090s, and then fast forward to where we are today, where now we have in excess more than that in 4090s, because this large customer batch job requested more resources that we had, and then that came to an end, and now we have this excess, and so for those moments where we need to burst out our capacity and we offer higher reward rates than crypto mining, that's where I think a Linux build would really reduce the friction for people to recognize, hey, I can jump over to Salad, just like protocol switching you would in the crypto mining world, and generate a bit more return while we have those container, demand from those container jobs. And Brandon, I've got you to thank for giving me some advice on that. You were one of those conversations I had. And I also recognize, if I can, just pivoting slightly, one of the things we could probably do a better job of is helping you guys, the crypto mining community, actually recognize, or at least provide some signal as to when we are short on supply, which translates to a miner's perspective, a chef's perspective, is if I put my machine towards Salad, there's a high likelihood of 99%. It's never 100% because there might be a compatibility issue, but there's a very high chance I get a job, versus right now where we have an excess of supply and maybe there's a 60% chance you get a job because we don't have enough demand to match supply. So we're thinking about a dashboard or a web page people can go to that description now. We're kind of spitballing that internally.
Oh, okay. Well, that was actually rolling into a question I had further on into the conversation. But I was going to be asking if we were going to be, as the salad chefs, was there going to be a dashboard or a website or a page where we could see if GPUs were needed, not needed, just to give people a heads up. If I connect this, like you said, there's a high likelihood that you'll get a job. Or if you go on there and you see this GPU's way down here at the bottom and it's cold and there's a low percentage or it's not needed, obviously if you connect it you'll be calculating, because that seems to be one of the biggest struggles now. People hook up their computer and they're like, why am I calculating? I just watched a YouTube video and Brandon was chopping at this many dollars a day, and so that's been a struggle point for people. And even me now, there's been days where it's just like it's calculating. I don't know, but it's one of those things you have to learn as time goes, because customers come on and they go off, like you said.
Yeah, and just one more point on that. We try our very best to build for the future state that we will end up in, and the way we view ourselves is uh, more of an AWS in the sense that we have a suite of different products and services. So we have SGS, which is our people can opt into these high bandwidth jobs. Um, that's for streaming services. VPNs are primarily our customer there. We have this transcription API that we've just launched. We have the container engine, and over the course of time, we plan to have dozens, if not 100, different cloud products and services. And on top of our supply, we will actually stack these products where we can on top of each other. So that'll manifest from a supplier's perspective very differently to how it does today, where it's kind of matched one-to-one with SCE, Sally Container Engine, where if there is a customer wanting a specific hardware setup, and we have a node that meets a chef that meets that setup, we will match them, and it's kind of one-to-one. That's going to be very different, fast forward the clock 2 or 3 years from now, where kind of that probability dashboard we described may not make sense 2 or 3 years from now. But I think we're recognizing, this is something we can easily build now and either modify or deprecate in the future when it no longer makes sense. So definitely something we're thinking about now so that we can do a better job for you guys in terms of managing expectations on what to expect and when to expect a workload.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the hardest part, coming from just transitioning from crypto mining to like compute-based workloads. Everybody's used to connecting it and getting paid like right away. So then it's like retraining all these my friends and people that watch the YouTube channel, stuff like that. They're like, why is it not doing it? But obviously, as time goes on, everybody will gain the education on it. No doubt you'll be gaining more customers. And I didn't want to hold you up here forever, so we'll knock out probably the last like big heavy hitter question, because everybody asks this, and it's got to do with the little checkbox whenever you're installing Salad, and it asks about adult content and what does that entail, because some people are worried about it. Other people could care less. I'm probably in the category that cares less. If it's 18 plus, it doesn't matter to me if it runs on my system, as long as it is legal. And how's that handled?
Yeah, so that's where we draw the line as well. We've had a lot of conversations internally about this. As a infrastructure provider, do we want to start curating the content that is allowed, or the workload profile types that are allowed on our platform? And that's a very slippery slope. You get to the point where you're making these curations based on your individual preferences, morals, whatever you might call it. And so what we've ultimately arrived at is it legal? Is it not illegal? And obviously that changes based on jurisdiction. So we, based on the IP address of where a chef is, we have different kind of workloads. Primarily, that logic is based around adult content, so I'll get to your question in terms of where we distribute these different workloads. But coming to so that's kind of the business logic we use in terms of what customer we will support and what we won't support. In the US, here in the US, don't let the accent fool you, I'm here in the US. That content is legal, and so one of the things I can actually give you a specific example here. One of our large customers, maybe I won't name them by name, but you can go to our website and see who they are. We got a big banner around them. They're a big text-to-image platform that has put a huge amount of effort into controlling and minimizing and discouraging and adding huge amounts of friction for anything that is certainly illegal, but also not safe for work. But it is in theory possible. And so Stable Diffusion, for example, that is a text-to-image AI model. And you can prompt it to generate anything, basically. And so it is out of our control what someone is prompting, and certainly out of our customers' control what their users are prompting Stable Diffusion to generate. And so kind of our business logic specifically for us when it comes to the adult content opt-in or opt-out, the filter we apply is it possible in theory to generate adult content with this workload? And if the answer is yes, we mark it as
adult content,
as an adult workload.
Okay.
So the reality is 99, I mean, I don't know the percentage, but the overwhelming majority of those Stable Diffusion workloads are fine, but there's the potential there. And so therefore we feel like, you know, one of our brand values is all truth, no bullshit. We want to be as transparent as possible. If there's a chance that a chef their machine is being used to generate something not safe for work, even if the customer's not explicitly in that industry, we want to give people the opportunity to opt out. And you know how that translates to a chef is you're probably less likely to get a workload, because many of our workloads are text to image today from a variety of different customers. But instead you'll get, you know, less workloads, but maybe there'll be transcription workloads instead, or there'll be molecular dynamics workloads instead, where there's not even the potential for that abuse.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's actually a even better explanation than I was imagining, because I imagine that there's probably some, you know, not safe for work companies out there, and they need you know, stuff handled too. But if it's actually the text to image stuff, that and it can also get weird and wild depending on what people put in there. But yeah, so okay, that's actually that's pretty good. That's pretty good, because some people have definitely taken it out of context and, you know, tried to stand on a high ground. Whereas, you know, I look at it as the fact that every other platform that I've seen out there doesn't talk about it. They don't give you a check mark box. They don't let you, you know, what can you know, control. They just you put your systems up there, and then people rent it, and you don't know what they're doing. You can see stuff that's running, maybe, depending on the platform. So honestly, just giving your chefs more choice is not a bad thing in my book, because, you know, just to name some of the big ones off the top of my head, you know, you got Vast, you got Flux Edge, you got Chlor out there. There's no options on there, so who knows what's going on and what's running, and yeah, not to say that any of those are bad, just different, right? But okay, well, awesome. I think that hammers out and that nails out a lot of the major stuff. There was a couple more small ones. Everybody and their brother asks, you know, like, what's your number one customer? Can you talk about them? And, you know, what are they used for on your workload side? I figure we'll get through some of these small ones, and then we can call it a video.
Yeah, let me. I mean, the big customer we have. So here, you know, you can join the dots with this. They're a top 10 AI website. They're okay with us talking about them as a customer. Civitai, you know, we generate some 10 million images per day, primarily Stable Diffusion. Increasingly Flux with those guys. The Flux model, it's kind of a new text-to-image model. They're running in the thousands of GPUs at any point in time as a customer. Second largest, well, actually, they're no longer the largest, but second and third, very similar profile company that we don't have permission to talk about. I think what we are starting to see on the horizon, and just a bit of context for this, we're a workload agnostic platform, right? You can, for the developers out there that understand this, you can containerize any workload. It could be a miner, it could be Stable Diffusion, it could be, you know, a simulation, whatever it might be. We've recently seen a couple of drug discovery companies spin up thousands of GPUs to run these molecular dynamics and what they call free energy perturbations simulations, and they'll run them across 2, 3, 4,000 GPUs. The challenge with those jobs is that they're batch in nature. They're finite in nature. Unlike Civitai, where they're running these 1,000+ GPUs pretty consistently throughout the day. They might scale up, scale down as their demand profile does, but we can expect that to kind of run consistently, in perpetuity, right? Let's hope. With these large molecular dynamics, these drug discovery jobs, they have incredible impulses of demand for GPUs. They'll ask for 3,000 GPUs. Another one came in and asked for 100,000 cores, CPU cores. So it was about 6,000 machines they spun up. But they don't last forever, 12, 24, 36, 72 hours. Eventually they kind of come up and turn off. As that leads, certainly as we're smaller, where we measure the active GPUs in, the low tens of thousands, that makes matching supply and demand challenging. And kind of what I described earlier in the call, where we're oversupplied right now with 4090s, but then one of these jobs will come online and thumbs up, then we're undersupplied, right? So the nature of that workload makes it tough. I think where we are looking to do a better job, and where we could make life easier for miners, and Brandon, you and I were talking about this earlier, if we can get to, say, 80% of the profitability that is listed on hashrate.no, close to that kind of theoretical max, with this new containerized miner, at that point it's kind of the best of both worlds, where as a miner you can run Salad. We will be achieving close to what you could achieve yourself tuning this thing, but then you're also part of the network, and as soon as one of these customers comes in with either a batch priority or let's hope high priority job, that's when you can see those earning rates really go up by a multiple. But you need to be on the network to be in the running, right? And XP is kind of one of those things that we put our thumb on the scale, to hand out jobs to those chefs with higher XP first, as kind of a reward for that loyalty. So we're very unsophisticated today, but we're getting better, and we know the end state that we want to work towards.
Yeah, I think probably here in the next few days I'm going to be turning mining workloads on, so hopefully it'll only get better, and I'm going to be spreading out. Right now at my house I have about 8 machines running, but I'll spread them out throughout my house and turn mining workloads on, so that way they'll be making heat and hopefully making good revenue all day long. If we could hit even if it hit 80% of what the top coin on hashrate.no was, I would be ecstatic. I think most people would, because I'd sacrifice that 20% to earn 200% whenever the stable diffusion workload came on, or sometimes even more than 200%. Some of these I miss my $5 a day 3090 jobs, and every now and then they do pop up there, but they're, like you said, they're not for long. So I'd love to capitalize on those when I can, and then it go back down to mining during the day, especially since it's wintertime now. So we can make that extra heat and still make a little bit of money in the meantime. But I was going to say, before we get off here, where are you based out of? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I can talk about that. So okay. I got an Aussie accent. The company is based out of Utah. That's where we were founded. It's where I was when Solid was founded. When 2020 happened, we all went fully remote, and actually 3 years and change now. I've lived down in Puerto Rico, which is where I am now.
Oh, okay, very nice. How do you like it down there?
Love it. It's great. Yeah. It's hot. It's not great for mining, but it's a great part of the world.
Yeah, I was gonna say winter doesn't really start there for a while, does it?
No, it never really comes, to be honest, Brandon.
Yeah.
We have kind of a wet and a dry season, and that's about it.
Yeah. Over here, I'm in the East Coast. I'm in North Carolina, and we've already been dipping down into the 40s at night. So it absolutely pains me to turn my heat on because I have electric heat, so it burns a lot of power. And I'm like, yep, it's time to start moving stuff inside, because all my mining stuff and all my AI stuff is in my garage, so it doesn't help my house any right now. Yeah, I know a lot of viewers and stuff. We have a lot of viewers that are upstate, Canada, New York, Washington, stuff like that, and they kind of live and die by extra heat and stuff from miners. I know there's a lot of people that keep old ASICs around and run old ASICs for heat. And I meant to ask you this in the past. Since you are plugged in on the NiceHash and stuff, do you guys run NiceHash yourself, or do you guys rent out and let people mine in their workloads to NiceHash? Is that how that works? So, do customers?
Actually, don't know the answer to that. I'm not sure. I'd have to connect with the team.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, happy to give you that answer, but I'm not sure. It's been some time since I've really spent time and been close to what our infrastructure looks like for
mining
side of things. I've been really focused on kind of the cloud market and how do we define these new markets, these new verticals of demand. How do we find those customers? How do we onboard them successfully? Mining's not been top of mind for me, so I'm actually not sure of the answer to that question.
Okay, yeah.
I know we use a few different pools. I know NiceHash is one of them. I know we use a handful of miners, but I haven't touched base. My finger's not really on the pulse with that stuff right now.
No problem. And I guess to follow up the little bit of a mining question there, is it possible, or you could probably ask your team if it's possible, and maybe running the Dockerized image for NiceHash would help out with this. Is there a way to API to the widget, and whenever you have mining enabled and you have a mining workload, and it gives that little readout of your estimated value, is there a way to just put whatever algorithm is beside it? So if it was like on Aleo, it'd be whatever algorithm Aleo is, or even just the coin, just so like mentally we know, oh, it's on a mining workload, not a some kind of like compute workload. Because right now, if you have mining enabled, the only way I know that it's actually mining without opening like Process Manager or Task Manager is looking down and seeing a very low readout versus what it should be, a higher one. So it's still all like, oh, are we mining right now? I didn't know if that would be an option. I think that would also ease some people's minds on, because then maybe they look down and they see it's a high value and it's not mining, it's on a workload, or it's on a compute workload, sorry. I guess I need to redefine that, because mining can also be a workload as well.
The earning rate's definitely proxy for that, the indicator for that. I don't know. I'd have to ask the team. We using WSL2, it's at the hypervisor level that we're kind of isolating this virtual machine, and we do our best to keep them completely separate and independent. So but that said, I mean, we could always push it from that up to our, what we call the matrix, and then back down kind of to let the chef know what's running. But I'll ask the team on that one. I don't think we can do it locally, but it's not highly sensitive to latency, that feedback anyway. So definitely possible. It's just how it's implemented, I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, that wouldn't be information that needs to be like any kind of like a low latency or low ping situation, even if it updated every few minutes, just to give people an idea, like, oh, okay, it's mining and it's mining this, for example, or if the mine, you could kind of do it if it's mining, it's going to say what it's mining. If it's not, it's just not going to say anything. You're just going to get a readout. But yeah, so I do really appreciate it. And like I had said before, speaking to the viewers right now, if you do have a question and it wasn't answered, or if you wanted to elaborate on that more, we could always hopefully pick Bob Coin's brain again on a future date. And was there anything you wanted to wrap up with before we get off here?
No, I think the only thing I would reiterate is that we, we've come to learn that your community, crypto miners, are a really important part of our chef community. We've always traditionally been focused on individual gamers, but I think miners certainly skew towards the more high-end hardware, which is what our customers are seeking. So, we're listening to you guys. Often we can be slow to implement, the features you're asking for, but we're definitely listening and kind of looking to further enhance the experience and the value we can deliver to you guys, kind of in a partnership with you guys. So, no, this has been great, Brandon. Hope to come along from this again sometime in the future.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate it. And so, ladies and gentlemen, you guys have a good one. We will see you on sometime in the future. Adios.